So far, throwing weapons have kinda failed to impress. I can't say that I found one that I really enjoy using or that I would highly recommend. I'm secretly hoping that the Fusilai can change all that, but let's find out together. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 7 secondary weapon, the Fusilai. I'm gonna be covering a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have an endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides follow a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Fusilai. Let's begin by having a look at how the weapon behaves without any mods equipped, and for that I'm simply going to be taking a couple of free shots. The Fusilai is a throwing weapon and they are basically glass daggers, this being Gara's signature weapon. You will have projectile travel time as well as drop off to each of the daggers, and you also have two fire modes. The primary fire mode simply chucks daggers at enemies. As for the secondary fire mode, you will launch 3 of these little daggers at once in a horizontal line. Now keep in mind that these projectiles sometimes kind of veer off to the side. I'm not sure if you're picking this one up, but sometimes they simply pick up kind of weird projectile travel paths. Also, there's another thing to note about this one. Because they're arranged in a horizontal line, the use case scenario is rather niche. As for the colors in the simulacrum, honestly, I don't know what they did. Everything is sharper, yes, but also the colors are extremely cold, which can be bothering to the eyes. Anyway, we'll see if they'll change anything. They kinda made these changes in the Chimera patch. If we jump into stats, we'll see that the Fusilai's mod capacity is 60 out of 60. And if your Fusilai has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. This one can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie. And you can also pay 20 plat to have one installed. Next, my weapon has been formatted a total of 6 times, but this was done only for the purpose of testing. For the weapon build, I'm recommending you guys free format should cover it. Simply add V symbols. 3 Vs should do it. The accuracy for the primary and secondary fire mode is 100, but as you saw there, sometimes the projectiles simply kind of veer off in weird directions, especially for the secondary fire mode. Critical chance of 23% with a multi, which is half decent at 1.7x, a fire rate of 2.83, so it is quite sluggish, a magazine of 6 and a quick reload at 0.8 seconds. Overall, this is pretty solid. The only problem I really take with the Fusilai is that fire rate, but we will be able to solve it with Lethal Torrent. Riven disposition of 4 out of 5. That means that the Fusilai is not a very popular weapon. The way Riven disposition works is like this. The more popular a weapon is, the lower the Riven disposition. The less popular a weapon is, the higher the Riven disposition. Higher Riven disposition will mean a larger amount of stats on your Rivens. It's basically DE's way, the developer's way of balancing out weapons to give weapons which are not very popular a fighting chance. Status chance of 29%, and we got puncture and slash default on the weapon, with slash being the highest. So we got a status weapon with a high amount of slash. Pretty clear, isn't it? If we take a look at the secondary fire mode, the critical chance is abysmal, the multiplier is even lower, but you do have a higher status chance at 37%. And while the damage may seem higher, it's simply the base damage times 3. Honestly, I didn't find a lot of use out of the secondary fire mode, except when the enemies were kinda in a line. I really recommend you focus more on the primary fire mode. Let's start slapping on some mods, starting with mandatory mods. Hornet Strike, 220% extra damage. Next we're gonna go to the best thing on mostly everything, multi-shot, barrel diffusion and Lethal Torrent. 60% fire rate and 60% multi-shot from Lethal Torrent. If you don't have this one, it pops up on alerts, I think twice a week or something like that. You will have to do a nightmare mission. Lethal Torrent is a double win in the case of the Fusilai, simply because it gets rid of that innate sluggishness the weapon has. Next we're gonna go to critical chance and critical damage. Pistol Gambit with 120% critical chance and Target Cracker with 60% critical damage. If you have Prime mods, then by all means go for Prime mods. For the sake of presentation, and because not everybody has Prime mods, initially we're gonna be going with standard mods. 120% critical chance and 60% critical damage. We got a crit chance of 50.6 and a crit multi of 2.7. Here's a bit of a tip. If it ever comes a choice between getting Prime Pistol Gambit or Prime Target Cracker, first go for Prime Target Cracker if you don't have the resources to get both. Next we're gonna go to elemental damage, and elemental damage should always be applied on a weapon depending on circumstance. Where are you going, who are you fighting, and so on and so forth. For example, if you're going up against the infested, the Fusilai is not exactly the ideal weapon against them. I would recommend AoE weapons heavily modded into heat. An example of this would be the Ignis Wraith. If you're talking about Corpus faction, they have big shields, and if you really want to nuke down shield, you can build magnetic damage, but a smarter idea would be to build gas or toxin, as it bypasses their shields entirely and deals damage to their health. Keep in mind that underneath those shields on some Corpus units you will find armor, and speaking of armor, this is what makes the Grineer the toughest targets in Warframe. They have two armor types, Alloy, which is weak to radiation damage, and Ferrite armor, which is weak to corrosive damage. Against Grineer, more often than not, your safest bet will be to build Corrosive, which is the elemental combo between electricity and toxin. So let's build some, shall we? The electricity mod can prove a bit of a problem. It's called Jolt, and this one can only be obtained from Battlekit the Void Trader. 60% electricity and 60% status chance. Unfortunately, you cannot obtain this one from Hive missions. He brings this one once every 2 to 3 weeks. This and Voltaic Strike, if you ever see him bring it, pick up at least one copy for yourself. If you want to pick up additional copies, you can make a bit of a profit later on. If you don't have Jolt or don't want to spend the plat to get it, because it is quite pricey, 100 something plat currently on PC, you can simply use Convulsion, the 90% mod, and forget about Jolt. Jolt will be better on enemies past level 100, but if you don't have it, don't worry about it too much. Next we're gonna go to Toxin. Pistol Pestilence is a lot easier to obtain and a lot more affordable as well. 60% Toxin and 60% status chance. This one can be farmed from Corrupted Vor in the Void. From the trade chat, it's about 10 plat. And we still have one more mod slot left on the weapon. You can plug into this one whatever you feel comfortable with. Keep in mind that the best way to enjoy something in Warframe is to build it to your own preference, to fit your playstyle. But let me give you a couple of suggestions. First of all, punch through. Punch through is fantastic currently in Warframe. Seeker 2.1 meters worth of punch through. That means that your daggers will be going through the initial target and hit multiple. So it adds a form of AoE to the weapon. Next, another option would be more damage. Yes, who doesn't like more damage? With Augur Pact, 90% extra damage. Augur Pact is not a weak mod. I know a lot of you guys ask, hey, why not simply add Augur Pact on a whole lot more builds? Keep in mind that elemental mods, such as Jolt and Pistol Pestilence, get the damage increase, their damage increased by damage mods such as Augur Pact and Hornet Strike, also by multi-shot. So bear that one in mind. Augur Pact doesn't get increased. 90% extra damage might seem like a lot, but honestly, this mod is only to be used when you don't have any other better option. And there's one more which I want to recommend, and it's my personal favorite. It's called Hydraulic Crosshairs. This one on headshot will give you 135% critical chance when aiming for 9 seconds. We already got a critical chance of about 50%. With this one, we're gonna be going to something like 70% critical chance with a multi of 2.7x. If you already have a 100% critical chance, or at least 98, something like that on your Fusilai, then it might be a smarter idea. No, for sure, it's a smarter idea to increase your critical damage with sharpened bullets. 75% critical damage, this is an on-kill effect. By all intents and purposes, if you're feeling up for it, you can use sharpened bullets over target cracker. Keep in mind though that this is an on-kill effect, so it's not going to be as reliable as target cracker. This is the initial build I'm going to be recommending to you guys, so let's test it and see if it's got any kick on it. We're going to be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Gunner. These will be level 120 above sortie free. The reason why I test Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120 is not because I can't spawn higher level enemies, but I do believe this is a good testing point, and most of my weapon reviews are done on this level, so you guys get a good reference point on a weapon. So let's go to town and see what this one can do. I love Lethal Torrent on this one. The weapon is no longer sluggish, and it took about 3 clips, that is 18 daggers in a target's head, in order to fully kill it. I'm getting a lot of corrosive procs on my target. See, the problem is that corrosive, in order to be viable, in order to be fantastic, it needs multiple applications, so your subsequent shots will be dealing more and more damage. And the Fusilai, well, it doesn't deal that many hits, but if you pay attention, you will see that I'm getting a lot of slashes on the target. Look at that. What if I would cater the weapon as a slasher? As you can see, as it is now, it's not bad, definitely. As far as throwing weapons are concerned, that is definitely respectable, but we can do better with a slash focused build. So we're gonna forget about Jolt altogether, and instead we're gonna be building Viral, which is the elemental combo between Toxin and Cold. we're still gonna be keeping the 60-60 mods over the 90 mod simply because our slashes will be coming through the weapon's innate slash value as well as that high status chance. So a higher status chance in this case will get me a lot of slash values. But wait, aren't you proccing viral more than slash? Look, it's a higher number. No. IPS, impact, puncture, and slash has a 4 times greater chance of proccing over elemental types such as viral or corrosive and so on and so forth. So when you're looking at a weapon and trying to determine exactly what is the proc priority, look at IPS times 4, simply visually. So in fact, my slash is around 1600, something like that. And we're going to be testing the weapon out like this. With a slash build, the Fusilai I feel shines a little bit more, and this is the build I will be recommending to you guys wholeheartedly. And you know what? It doesn't include Jolt, which was the only expensive mod on the list. So we're gonna be unloading about, I think that is enough. As you can see, I got a viral proc on the target and the slashes are ticking away. The primary reason most slash builds, not all of them, include viral damage is simply because viral on a status proc will be reducing the maximum health of a target to 50% for the duration of the viral proc. So in a way, your slashes will be dealing double damage for that duration. Just keep in mind that viral builds do have some negatives to them. If the viral proc slips off the target before it dies, then the health will be popping back up. And let me give you a clear example of that. Okay, let's see here. This shouldn't kill the target, the viral will expire and then the health will be going back up in a second. Boom, look at that. So you have to reshoot the target, so there goes your fantastic DPS. From my point of view, a viral slash build on the Fusilai works better. And that's kind of hurtful to me because I'm a big fan of corrosive setups. Now, we do have one more setup. This will be a Riven setup and I have a Fusilai, VC, Sati, whatever it is. Damage and multi-shot, that's the important part here. And I also got damage to infested. Boo-hoo. If that was a negative, that would have been absolutely bloody fantastic. More damage is gonna mean, well, more damage, higher slash and so on and so forth. More multi-shot will mean more status apps, theoretically, more potential status apps on the target, so therefore more slashes as well. I do have another Riven. Take a look at this one. And you might be tempted to believe that, hey, that one clearly is better, critical chance, critical damage, and a whole lot of puncture. But for a slash build, it's not, simply because that added puncture there will make it so that puncture will become my #1 proc priority over slash. So if I want to build it for slash, this one is actually not helping me all that much. This one will give you better results for a slash build. If you simply want to build damage, however, and go for a corrosive setup, then this is the way to go. Keep in mind that puncture does have 50% damage bonus when it comes to heavily armored targets, but for a slash build, this will work better. Now let's test the weapon one more time. This is a Dispo 4 Riven. The roll on it, I would call decent at best. Fusilai Rivens are not expensive. You're looking at 10 to 15 plat on roll. Head on over to Kuva and see if you get lucky. And take a look at that. Yes, a Dispo 4 Riven will make quite a difference. If I'm a little lucky, I can kill one of these high-level targets in a single clip. If not, a clip and a half, something like that. Look at the values on that. Now, the difference between slash values will be determined if it's a slash crit or not a slash crit. The 2000 something slashes, those are crit slashes. The Fusilai as a throwing weapon, well, among throwing weapons, let's say like that, is a pretty good contender. As a secondary weapon in general, it's decent at best, and this kind of goes for most throwing weapons. I still have to test the Spira Prime, however, everybody's telling me that I'm gonna love that one. It's not that I don't like the Fusilai, again, as a throwing weapon, it's pretty good among throwing weapons, but as a secondary weapon, this over something like the Dex Furis, or the Axomati, or the so on and so forth, nah, not really. But we will pump up everything with Warframe buffs with my favorite weapon specialist, Lady Mirage Prime. You thought I was gonna search for Lady, didn't you? Haha, not this time. Let's check out what kind of buffs she's got. Rifle Lamp won't help me at all, so we're gonna be using Pistol Lamp. If I manage to find it, that is. There we go. 27% extra damage to pistols, and while the Fusilai is not exactly a pistol, the damage will apply. Pistol Lamp is an aura, so everybody in your party will be receiving this benefit, and it is stackable ×3. However, if you know you're gonna go up against Grenier, then your safest bet will be to go with something like Corrosive Projection. Corrosive Projection is guaranteed to give you better results, but Pistol Lamp will grant its benefit regardless of the target. Next, let's have a look at Arcanes. Arcanes are a lot more impactful and you can farm them down on Cetus. I know that Eidolon hunts may seem a bit intimidating, but by all means, just go for it, guys. It's really not that complicated. The best one you can have is called Precision, and this one on headshot 80% chance for plus 120% damage to pistols for 8 seconds. As for your secondary arcane, you can use something like Avenger. 30% critical chance for 8 seconds. This is a non-damaged effect, and more importantly, this is a bonus additive after, and that's a pretty big deal simply because it adds 30 on top of what you already had. It doesn't increase the base amount by 30%. That's an option, but I'm gonna propose another one. One which is very cheap, Arcane Awakening. As you can see, I can't get rid of this stuff, it's so cheap. I think it's like 20 plat, 30 plat DR free. On reload, which you will be doing quite a lot with the Fusilai, you got a 40% chance at another 100% damage to pistols for 16 seconds. I'll be honest here, it's not entirely reliable, that 40% chance on reload, but this one is cheap, is affordable, and it's a lot easier to farm from the second Eidolon down on Cetus. We're gonna be testing the weapon like this. One more time, the same corrupted heavy gunner level 120. Once upon a time, paused AI targets would take extra damage when hit with ranged attacks. That is no longer the case and hasn't been the case for months. However, keep in mind that if you were to strike paused AI targets with melee attacks, then a finisher multiplier would still apply. Activate Mirage's third ability and her first ability, and here we go. Take a look at that. The Fusilai can shred through these high level targets in a matter of seconds. Take a look at the values of those slashes, and I don't even have viral proc on the target simply because I don't need it. Absolutely bloody glorious, isn't it? Again, among throwing weapons, the Fusilai can pack one hell of a punch. Among secondary weapons, not really, but then again, this is silent, yes, so you do have the added benefit that it's a silent weapon, and not everybody likes to use hushed invisibility. For example, perhaps you enjoy the fantasy of playing a ninja and you want to be super stealthy and throw kunai-like weapons, then the Fusilai will get you there. As you can see, it does pack one hell of a punch. And I do recommend the weapon with the condition that you enjoy this type of weapon. Thrown weapons, dagger-like weapons, as you can see, sometimes they're not exactly ideal. I mean, if it comes a choice between something like this and the Dex Furis, there's no real competition there. But that's gonna do it for the review. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. Now, I can't realistically promise you that it will be done by next time or even within a week, because these reviews do take quite a bit of time, but I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.